and agree to a full public consultation on the detailed proposals, and to ask officers to prepare an outline business case. So those are the things the board would be hoping for a steer for us on. Who wants to say something? Heather?
Thank you. I think the majority of my comments on this document are from pages 70.
That's Cllr Heather Williams, who's probably the most sensible person in the room.
3 and 101, just to give other members a steer of where I'm looking at. So I'm going to go from left to right. Copenhagen Crossing. I have a great deal of concern about, well, the floating bus stops, which I think are complete and utter nightmare for anybody with sight impairments and disabilities. I think the one-way cycleway, I'd be interested to hear more about and have some more explanation on that. Because in my mind, it becomes, having that sort of physical curb makes it, if there was an issue where a cyclist had to swerve or a road driver would have to swerve in an emergency, does it exacerbate the situation? So how safe is that, and where's it? I think we need some more on the safety elements of that. But the Copenhagen Crossing, if you have, it's just lines on the road, and what worries me is the lines are not, they're great and visible straight away, they're not as time goes on, and you're going to be in a situation where people are giving way to cyclists and pedestrians, but we already have a system for that, and it's called a zebra crossing. So is it because it's a cycleway we can't use a zebra crossing? It doesn't seem to me in the text why we have to have these junctions or crossings, which are not going to be familiar to a lot of people. People taking their driving tests now might be, these things might be included, but not people that took their tests many years ago. Even I've been driving, wanting to road, nearly 20 years. Things like this were definitely not on mine. So we're introducing new things that people aren't going to be familiar of. And also, does it make it dangerous for cyclists in the fact that they'll be having to judge when they can just go straight ahead and not stop and pause, and when not? It just feels like an absolute accident waiting to happen. It creates me a lot of anxiety just looking at the diagram. As a driver or as a pedestrian, we have zebra crossings, everybody knows what they are. They are highly visual.
Hang on a minute, Heather. Some cyclists don't seem to know what a pedestrian crossing is because they cycle over them.
And they give the people on the zebra crossing right of way. So it's not as if we're not used to that system. Floating bus stops, I think we must stop pursuing floating bus stops.
Absolutely right. When the bus stops, everything stops. People
with sight loss issues, and I appreciate that there'll be a smaller section of society, but when we sit here, we must be putting ourselves in the position of everybody that's using this. I appreciate that probably gives that small advantage to the cyclist, and I'm not opposed to there being improvement to cycle provision, but just look at it, you're sandwiching people between two sets of traffic. Okay, I appreciate getting hit by a bicycle is going to be slightly less painful than a car, but it can still have impacts, and it can also create anxiety for people leaving the home. And you just look at that picture on page 73, that small amount. So if we actually are successful in getting people onto buses, there's barely any room for them to be there. And we can see on the responses on page 101 that this is a real anxiety for people with disabilities. And I don't think that we should just be saying, carry on despite that. They might be a smaller group of society, but they have an equal voice. I think there are better ways. Yes, we can have improvements to cycling provision, but these designs are not appropriate. And let's have something that everybody understands as well, because otherwise you won't get safety for anybody with these layouts. That's my view. And also the alternatives and the diagrams. Appreciate it's really difficult because it's quite complex structures. It's very hard to make a comparison. So actually, I think that the routes and the way that they are diagrammed need to be different in a consultation, because at the moment it's very hard. You almost need like an overlay. So that's my
Thank you very much.
feedback.